Feeling wonky lately? If so, you're probably picking up on the interdimensional states and experiences that are coming in this month of November. In fact, November is shaping up to be our entrance into interdimensionality as a new way of being. So we're going to talk quite a bit about that in this energy update. I'm going to go over the Metatron frequencies, the ones that just came in last week. I'm also going to talk about this push that we're in. We are in a window of opportunity, and it does have an end. So I'm going to tell you when that ends and why it's so important for you to push right now. And we're also going to go over, I'm going to tell you about a new group who's been coming in. They're from the Galactic Center, very powerful galactic beings who have been kind of coming in the background, not really ready to come out publicly. Now they're ready. I'm going to introduce you to them and tell you a little bit about what I've got coming up with them because they're ready to work with individuals. We'll get to that at the end. That's something that you can participate in if you're interested. I'm Paige Apgar, energy healer and channel, and this is your November energy update. And before we begin, I would like to ask that you please do like and subscribe and hit that little bell button that will notify you when new content is uploaded. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Metatron frequencies. Now these are from the Metatron channelings that I do on the Insight Timer. I do those every month. They're free. Anyone can join. We create a field. We receive powerful frequencies from galactics and angels. Anyone who is present is receiving those frequencies and then becomes an anchor for the frequency for themselves, for their own individual shifts and awakenings, but also for humanity because it anchors the frequencies into the field of humanity. So last month, Metatron talked about a shift in time, and it was fractalization that was going to create these sort of Swiss cheese-like holes in our experience of time. And time was defined as a state of consciousness. And so this is something that I think a lot of people are already feeling, and it does give you this kind of wonky feeling. It's like you go into a bubble sometimes where it feels like a suspension of time, where time is expanding and maybe like you're kind of hovering. It's a bit of a here but not here feeling, but not detached, not disconnected. You're still very much doing what you're doing and present. There's just a very different feeling to it. And that is already an experience of interdimensionality, of opening to different dimensions, because these openings in time are part of that shift to interdimensionality. So let's go ahead and look at the frequencies that Metatron brought in last week. This was just at the very end of October. So this is the energy that we've got right now going into November. Okay, so we have a theme for October that is merging with interdimensional light. And I'm going to read the definitions of the frequencies for you. We always have 3 frequencies that come in, so I'll read them in order and explain a little bit about how they all come together. So the first one is about interdimensional currents of light. And that means light that can be simultaneously expressed in different dimensions. So that's important. The second frequency was about the fractalization of light particles. And the third frequency is one that we've had often. It's a joining or merging frequency. It's defined as 2 is the joining of 2 separate beings or separate forms that then become one. I also like to call that the oneness frequency. So the theme, or how all of this comes together, was defined as the dissemination of interdimensional light to individuals. So we're taking that in. Think of like a fractalization of light that's just shooting out and spreading out to all of us, and we're taking that in. And then a merging of the individual to higher dimensional experience. So the key is this light and its ability to simultaneously express in different dimensions. And it acts as like a bonding agent, connecting us to higher dimensional experience. Now, I've asked a bit about this, and it isn't that it's connecting us to a certain dimension, because I know a lot of people talk about how humanity is in the 5th dimension, right? We hear that often. So it isn't that this is connecting us up to the 6th dimension or a specific higher dimension. What it's doing is opening us. It's like opening a portal, you could call it, but it's not so much about portals right now. It's really about a shift in your state. So it's opening you to the potential, to the ability to experience higher dimensional states. So if you are curious to hear that channeling, there is a long message that came with it. And also to absorb those frequencies, you can do that here on my YouTube channel. The recording is there. You'll hear the whole thing because I actually held this one on YouTube and not on the Insight Timer. Next month, we'll be back on the Insight Timer. And I have a link below where you can access that upcoming event on the Insight Timer. And I also have the descriptions of the frequencies there in the description of that video. So again, this interdimensional experience, it's what we're moving towards. This isn't something that's going to be a temporary state or just a push. This is a move towards establishing a new way of being, establishing new states of consciousness, which also speaks to the understanding of time as a state of consciousness. So we're moving into a new understanding of time and an ability to express as interdimensional beings. And that speaks to the reformulation of the human, which came up in my last energy update. And that was actually from this group that I want to tell you about, the Galactic Center Beings. They brought in that message last month, and they talked about the reformulation of the human that's coming, and it's starting now. They're going to do some work with anyone who is ready in December. So in December, they've asked me to offer 4 different sessions 1 week apart so that we have a lot of integration time. These are going to be very intensive sessions, and I'll talk about this more coming up. If you are interested, please join my email list. There's a link in the description below. I will definitely be announcing it on my list. I will probably put another video up here on YouTube to talk about who they are and what they're bringing and what they're doing. But they are a very advanced group from the center of our multiverse. They've been working with me for almost 2 years. It was February of 2023 that they first started coming in and have slowly integrated into some of the different work that I do. So if you've done the Insight Timer meditations, you have experienced their energy, and it's big. It's big. It's amazing energy. It's incredible. As someone who works with energy, I'm very familiar with all the different energies that different beings bring in. I work with a lot of different galactics. They come in here and there. They come into a lot of my sessions. They come into a lot of my channeled healing work. They come into just all kinds of things. They bring messages or sometimes just frequency. And so each one is different. Each one carries a different type of frequency. Now, there's a lot to say about that, but suffice it to say that the Galactic Center are far beyond any other that I have encountered. So it's pretty spectacular, really. So I invite anyone and everyone to join me for those. They're coming up. Again, join my email list to get all of the information. I wanted to say that in my sessions, I always like to comment on what I'm noticing in sessions, because to me, that's what brings it all home. You know, we have all these things that we hear about, right? We hear about the astrology, we hear about all the shifts in the energy, we hear about all of these different things, but how is that actually showing up for people in their lives, for one thing? And how is that, for me, as an energy healer, how is that showing up in their sessions? How is that reflected in what is needed and what they're asking for? So when I work with people, I'm tuning into their higher self, which is their higher consciousness. I'm just being guided by what they need most. And so it shifts, right? And I've been watching this throughout the whole pandemic period. That's when I started doing that, because I thought it was fascinating. I wanted to see what was going to happen in the pandemic with sessions and with people's energy. And this has just morphed from one thing to the next, and it absolutely follows what's happening in the bigger picture with the energy. And so right now, it's been fascinating over this last month, and I mentioned this in my last energy update for October. I've had a completely different type of session with most people, and the work I do is based in the Eden method, but also my own intuitive work, and so I work more with the kind of the spiritual aspects of energy healing, but it's gone to a new level. So over this last month, it's like we've opened, and again, it reflects this interdimensionality. The sessions are about portals and vortexes and ancestral lines, and I mean, really going through preparation for the reformulation that's coming. That's one thing that's happened. Their own reconstitution of different parts of their energy system to a higher experience or higher expression. That's another thing that's happening regularly. I've had someone just the other day who was bringing something in for humanity, something that was like a mission that she was on in this lifetime, very much the reason that she's here in this lifetime, bringing something in and delivering it. And so that is opening and expressing. So these higher pieces, these pieces that are really about, I like to call it sort of the higher level of why we're here. You know, we can talk about our purpose in terms of what kind of work should I be doing, or what are my karmic lessons and evolutionary lessons and this and that. That's one level of purpose. But there's another level of purpose that has to do with where you're from, your home star system, home planets. What are you here for? Why did you come to this planet to have this experience? And I do a lot of work with that in my sessions. And so right now, we're in this moment where that higher level is opening up, is I want to say more accessible and expressing more. Opening to express. It's all very exciting. So if you're in the field of energy, hopefully some of this will resonate with you and make sense. Maybe confusing if you're not, but just know that everyone is experiencing these higher openings. So let's talk a bit about the window of time that we're in for moving to higher states, because that's also really important here. Everyone is experiencing this. You're going to go higher the more work you do to push yourself there. So you can just kind of stay where you are, doing the same things you've been doing. And for those of you who are already doing a lot of work to move higher, like doing a lot of meditations, connecting to higher energies, moving yourself into higher states, you can do that using channeled frequencies. I have a lot of those here. Channeled frequencies are by far the most powerful way to move yourself into higher states. If you've already been doing that, then you're well on your way. You're going to keep going. If you haven't been doing that, now is the time to start. The reason for that is that we are in a window of opportunity. So I want to say this was not last month, but the month before, September, I think, in the energy update, we had a message from a galactic that now was the time to push. And they repeated it, I want to say it was 3 or 4 times in that very short message. Now is the time to push. Now is the time to go higher. So just a couple weeks ago, I asked my guides, you know, it feels like we're in this window. We keep getting this message that now's the time to push. Is there an end to this? Is it going to close? And they said yes. And they said that it would close in 5 months. And then I just asked again, like roughly when that would be. They're saying mid-March. So this really is the time. It really is. And they're saying don't wait until, you know, the beginning of March to do this. Don't keep putting it off and saying, you know, I've got 5 months. I'll do it next week. You know, that can turn into next month or next year very easily, right? We all know this. We're all busy. You have to make the time for this. You really do, because it's a process, and you're initiating a process of moving to a higher state. You want to give that process time to develop. These things don't just happen overnight. You want to get started now. Again, you can do these meditations and intentionally put yourself into higher states. Take moments out of your day. Take yourself into a higher state. It's that, you know, short, it's not a full meditation, but it's that short, you know, taking 10 breaths and remembering that there's something higher, remembering that you can access more, remembering that you're more than just this physical body, pulling yourself out of the fray, right? We are in such a time of conflict and tension, and that is going to continue for a bit with the energy, certainly according to the astrology. What I'm seeing and feeling with the energy is we are also going to continue to expand into these higher states, this interdimensional experience. So it's almost like separating from the physical, not completely, but you are separating a bit. You're moving out a bit. It makes it easier to separate from all the chaos and the madness and the conflict and the, say, polarization of our society right now. This is the time to do it. Okay, so I think I've driven that point home. Okay, so now that I have fully driven that point home, I just want to remind you one more time that in December, I've got these sessions coming up with the Galactic Center. They're going to be very powerful, so don't miss out on those if you're ready to move. If you're ready to move in a big way. Join my email list, the link's in the description below. Thank you for watching. I'm so glad to have you all here. I'm excited about these changes that we're going through. Please do put your comments to let me know if you're experiencing these things, what's coming up for you. I know everyone's having very unique, different experiences right now. I'd love to hear about them. So go ahead and put those in there. Let's share some of those and see where everyone is. All right, everyone, have a wonderful month. Best of luck to you as you navigate these changes, and I will see you next month.